Welcome, foolish mortals. Before I did a review of episode 13 of The Mandalorian called The Jedi, I realized I hadn't done one for episodes 11 and 12. So let's get into those two. Um, they once again were very short episodes, 34, 35 minutes at most. Um, I really feel that the last three episodes could have been cut up and made into 1 hour, hour and 15-minute episode, or two 45-minute episodes. It just seemed like a bunch of more filler. The first one was chapter 11, which was the heiress. It concludes our adventure of taking the frog lady to meet her husband so he can inseminate her eggs and their species can continue, or at least their family line. So the Razor Crest lands on a pretty watery world, kind of looks like Norway, full of Mon Calamari and Quirin. They go to a bar, and the Mandalorian starts asking questions about where he can find Jedi or anybody who's wearing armor like his. Their waiter tells him that he thinks he knows of a place that they might be able to find some people. So they head out and get on a boat with a whole bunch of Quirin, who are the squid face guys, and are immediately basically turned upon. They're going to kill him in order to get his armor because the armor is worth a lot of money. They feed the child to a monster that's below the decks. And they are only saved by three Mandalorians who jetpack in and kill everybody and save Din and the child from the water. So it was kind of a long time getting to that point. And then, of course, once we get to that point, the Mandalorians take off their helmets, which, of course, freaks the Mandalorian out. And he, of course, accuses them of not being true Mandalorians. And the lead introduces herself as Bo-Katan from the Clone Wars series. In the show and in the Clone Wars series, she's played by Katie Sackhoff, who has become like the new queen of sci-fi. She's in everything. She was most famously Starbuck in the remake of Battlestar Galactica. But she's been in Big Bang Theory and The Bionic Woman and a whole bunch of stuff. I think maybe Star Trek might be the only thing she hasn't been in so far. So she explains to the Mandalorian that actually he's the weird one and that he is part of basically a cult that is trying to reestablish the old ways of the Mandalorian, including never taking off your helmet, which of course is stupid. How do you eat? How do you sleep properly? You know, all that, which we've seen the Mandalorian deal with. Um, Not to mention, falling in love, that kind of thing. He kind of explains the situation, and she says that she does know where a Jedi might be, but she would like his help in a deal they've got going in order to secure her help. And this, of course, is what happens everywhere he goes. Every time he needs something, somebody else needs something in order to get that. There was an old episode of MASH where they're just trying to get, I can't even remember what it is, but they ended up having to do like 30 or 40 steps. It was a fetch quest. And this is what The Mandalorian Season 2 has become, is a fetch quest. Everybody needs something from you in order to get any kind of information. So they eventually attack a supply ship that the remnant of the Empire is trying to get to somewhere. They don't actually talk about it. They overwhelm it. They do, in fact, take it out. And Bo-Katan says she's going to take these weapons and use them against the remnant of the Empire. She gives the Mandalorian some information about where he might be able to find the next link. And she drops the words that everybody has wanted to hear, Ahsoka Tano. And that he needs to go find her on this moon. That's where she is, and get there and talk to her, and she can help you find out what's going on with the child. That's kind of how that episode ends. The only thing that comes out of it is information about Ahsoka Tano, and that happens in the last couple minutes. Still great action, good effects. I just feel the story was lacking quite a bit. Good guest stars. Titus Weaver from Deadwood and a whole bunch of other shows. He's on the new Transformers movies, things like that. He was in it as an Imperial commander. They get some great guest stars. Next up was chapter 12, The Siege. Now, instead of going right to where they need to, because when he gets back to the docks, his ship has basically not been repaired properly. And it looks like it's something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's got nets everywhere. It has fishing poles. It looks like a Red Lobster inside. It's quite funny. So he decides to go back to Navarro in order to go to someplace he thinks he can get his ship properly fixed. And he runs into his old boss and his sidekick. His boss is now in charge of the city or county. It can't be the planet. I don't know. So, and then Cara Dune is the new sheriff in town, literally. And she's been trying to clean the place up. They've turned the old bar where the shootout was last time we saw it into a school, being taught by a protocol droid. He leaves the child there because Cara Dune and Karga, I couldn't remember his name, have a fetch quest for him as well. Apparently on one of the far sides of the settlement is an old Imperial garrison. They call it a lookout post. And it doesn't have very many people in it, but they need to get rid of it in order to clear the last of the Empire off of this planet. So he agrees to help. And this is where one of my problems with a couple of these episodes come in. I'm not quite sure the timeline that we're following in the show. Like literally how much time is passing in the show. If you watch season 1, it seems like most of that takes place over like 3 days, 4 days at most. This season might take place over a week. It's very hard to tell because we're not really given how much time elapsed between seasons 1 and 2. But when we get back to Navarro, it's pretty cleaned up. It's got, it looks like Batuu in Disney World. It's got shops and it's got everybody's happy. Well, that doesn't happen in just a week or so. Cleaning up all the mess, all that. So I'm not really sure how much time is passing on the show. That being said, they take a speeder out to this remnant headquarters, and they're instantly attacked by more than the dozen or so stormtroopers who they were told were going to be there. They, of course, dispatch them instantly. That's one of the things I don't like about this show is, he's bulletproof, and pretty much anybody on the show, unless it's a guest star who's riding along, like Horatio Sands was in this episode, there's no fear for any of the main characters. And I know that was true in the original trilogy and all the sequel trilogies, really, until they killed Han. But, there just seems like stormtroopers are a joke now. In fact, the Empire is a joke. Some of its officers seem to be quite competent, but really, there's nothing to them anymore. Anyway, they get in there and they shoot their way through, and then they run across a lab that is being run by the doctor, I don't remember his name, from the first season. And apparently they had been taking blood from the child in order to do cloning experiments. Now we can kind of see these clones in the background of one shot. And it's not clear if it's the Emperor or if it's Snoke or if they're trying to clone the child. But they did say that they'd run out of blood and they needed more. And that his M count was high. So we're not ditching the midichlorians. They are still a thing, and the child has high amounts of them, much like Yoda did. It may be something that his species has. So they defeat that. They blow the place up, drop it into the lava, go back, and his ship is magically repaired. Again, the ship was really in bad shape. So it seems like this maybe took place over a couple days. I don't know. Because he basically gets in and flies away. While one of the repairmen stuck a tracking device into the Razor Crest. So they're going to be tracking it, and he gives this information to Moff Gideon, who is standing inside a cryo chamber full of dark troopers. Now, dark troopers are an EU um, trooper. They showed up, I think, first in Dark Forces, which was a video game that told you the story of how the rebels got the plans to the Death Star, which of course was erased once Rogue One was created. But they're going to bring these troopers back, and I'm hoping these troopers actually are something important, because really the stormtroopers just suck. Everybody just shoots them down and that's it, and they're no threat to anybody. Um, I'm hoping the Dark Troopers are more of a threat, and that's kind of where we leave that episode. So once again, the plot doesn't move very far, except in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the episode. And then we have this jump where we're introduced to Dark Troopers, and there's cloning and things like that. So looking forward to episode 13, The Jedi. I'm going to go down and watch it and then post a review. So until then, I'll talk to you all later. Please like and subscribe. Pass on. Looking to try and hit 50 subscribers here soon. I've got some other videos coming up over the next week. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Talk to you later.